Why is it seeing me? All right, so we are live. Way too early, way too early. You're supposed to see this guy, not me. I don't know, technical difficulties. Still learning the new toys here, but let's roll through the intro here, and then we'll get started. All right, today is a special live stream. This is not the typical Friday afternoon live stream. This one's just casual. It's going to be a whole lot of just me. I even got a different backdrop for you here today, just hopefully to clear up any confusion. I'm live today on YouTube and on Twitter Periscope, and I'm hosting the AdobeChat. So that's why we're live today. We've got the AdobeChat going on. And so I've got answers to all of the questions that are coming on AdobeChat. We're going to post those, and then we're going to interact with folks trying to figure out what everyone else has to say about these questions and answers. So I look forward to sharing with everyone and talking about this topic a little bit. Hopefully, if you happen to be catching this live stream, we can keep it entertaining while I pay attention to all of the stuff that I have going on here today. There's a lot to do. So if you see me looking in random places in my studio, we've got monitors everywhere. I'm going to have to do a behind the scenes take on this studio at some point. I've got a monitor here, a monitor here. You've got the laptop you see, a monitor there, and then 75-inch 4K TV with all sorts of different crazy stuff on it going on over here. So it looks like we're going to get started here in just a moment. Hashtag AdobeChat for everyone that is participating in this. And the first question is kind of a preview question, is going to be, how do you define experience-driven commerce? Let's get in there and get an answer to that. I need to find, like I said, it's a whole lot going on here, so I need to kind of get my act together a little bit here so that I can participate in this particular chat. All right, so trying to find that particular post. I don't guess I have to, but again, it's just me trying to figure things out here, so I apologize if I go quiet for a few minutes. Just trying to get everyone an answer here and make sure I'm actively engaging in this conversation. Again, I'm going to be quiet from time to time. I don't think I can type and talk at the same time. That's it's going to be different. I also can't spell. All right. So what is experience-driven commerce? For me, experience-driven commerce is a customer-centric approach that takes all customer touch points into account to deliver exceptional customer experiences and build relationships. That's what it is for me. See if I can pull up. I just tweeted that. It may take a second for it to show on my board for me to be able to pull it up for you. So let's see here. Looks like I don't have question number 1 yet. All right. Again, I'm seeing, I don't have YouTube comments on. You need to join this conversation over on Twitter. You may be able to post in the chat, but I'm not going to see them. I'm not going to be able to respond. I'm trying to focus just on what's going on Twitter at the moment. And then, of course, my answer here is I look forward to this conversation, and then I kind of go through what I said a moment ago. Okay, we've got question number 1 here. All right, answer number 1. Should have made sure the hashtag fit in my answers. For me, I don't think the fundamental core principles of e-commerce have changed much, but technical execution and consumer expectations have changed a lot. Just the same as 20 years ago, we're trying to build trust, reduce friction, and start a relationship with your customers. Of course, I've got a few answers here. It's hard to live stream, make sure I'm talking to you guys and actually answer at the same time. But I'm going to post my answers, and then we're going to look out there and see what other people are posting as well. All right, make sure we're getting everyone answered. Okay, so let's look at what everyone else has said here. Now, my answers being, the question was, how has e-commerce changed in the last 25 years? And this, I didn't realize it would pull up a big graphic over the top of my face. That's kind of cool. We need to fix that and leverage that later. And my answers, as I mentioned, I don't think the fundamental core principles of e-commerce have changed much. It's about the technical execution. You're still trying to build trust. You're still trying to build a relationship with your customers. But years ago, being present was a big part of being successful. It's a smaller market, but you had less competition. Your biggest concern was building enough trust just to convince them to buy online in general. You know, SEO was easy to manipulate, but there weren't a lot of opportunities for going out and paying for traffic. So you really had to build those experiences. Users expect a lot more today from their e-commerce interactions, and that expectation is actually growing. And that leads merchants to needing to have a more sophisticated strategy and expend more effort to ensure they provide a pleasing experience that helps them stand out. So fundamentally, it's the same thing, but it's a lot more complicated to meet those expectations nowadays. And let's look at what some other people have posted here. Jessica Brawley says that in 2018 study of 4,000 global online shoppers found that just 17% of people say that making a purchase is their primary purpose for visiting a brand's website the first time. So experience-driven commerce is optimizing for experience over conversions to win sales. That's kind of going back to that initial kind of pre-question there. All right, so again, we're over on Twitter doing the AdobeChat right now. I'm not sure how entertaining I may actually be on this. So I'm just kind of talking to you, talking about some of the things that we've got going on here on the AdobeChat. So I apologize that I can't pay attention to the YouTube chat, or if you're hitting me up on Twitter, I may miss a lot of that as well. All right, so looking at what people are saying here, getting my retweets. We've got Jeff Barrett in the house here participating in this particular Adobe Chat. See if I can, It's only pulling in certain things here. I'm not able to see everything. So I'm struggling. I probably need some, there we go. That helps. That helps. It helps to be in the right tab. I probably should have set up Hootsuite or something just to make sure that I have access to everything here. Fred Faulkner is participating in there. Says he's late to the game, but we just started, Fred, so welcome and thank you. Your first answer here, commerce was very much a local brick and mortar game back in the day. Digital has certainly changed the landscape with online shopping. However, there are certain aspects, product services, you just need to see, feel, touch before purchase. Absolutely, Fred. That's a great point. I'm just going to tweet him in case, not everybody's watching this particular live stream. So let's, continue the conversation here. All right. Looks like we've got Louis paying attention to the chat here. Thanks, Louis, for participating in this Adobe Chat. Okay, question number 2. What does it mean to go from organization-centric to customer-centric? I'm going to give you a few answers here to this one, as I have with most of these. I typed out all of these answers and then I forgot I got to have the Adobe Chat hashtag in there. So my answers are a little long, so the Adobe Chat doesn't fit. So now I'm behind. So now I got to try to trim some words out. It's it's a first world problem, right? First world problem. It's my first time. I go in hot, not always over prepared, but I learned quickly. So I learned quickly. I'm going to go ahead and post all 3 of my answers for this one, and then I am going to then I'll read them to you guys if you happen to be watching this instead of paying attention to all of this Twitter scroll here. Organization customer centric. I always like to start with definitions. So my answers are really making sure people understand, understanding of terms. Centric just denotes what's at the center of your decision-making process, the sun that grounds your universe. Whatever you put at the center, and my thing keeps scrolling down here, so I'm losing my own thing here, but whatever you put at that center is what your business will focus on when building out processes and capabilities. So with that, as a business, if you are focused on solving your customers' problems and making them the center of your universe, you have more long-term success because you will always be looking to solve their problems and improve how you interact with them. Mutually beneficial relationships is key to growing a business. If you're making business decisions based on anything other than customers' needs, then you'll eventually lose those customers to someone who does. All right, we've got some great answers here. Let's see, Ross has got one. Until recently, organizations decided what product to offer, how to talk about it, where. Now the customer drives those conversations or those choices. And then many organizations are still thinking about shareholders, cost, brands. They're thinking about their business, not their customers. All great points here. All right. Go in here and retweet some folks. Just try to keep this conversation going. All right, so hopefully if you're here, go to hashtag Adobe Chat, get over there, participate, in these conversations. Okay, well, I've gotten off of the AdobeChat stuff here now. Let's see. All right, now I'm back. Um, Fred has some other great points here. In my humble opinion, it is when an org predicts inventory sales based on things like season trends versus looking at predictive models and consumer behavior to manage their business and overall relationship with the customers. Fred's got some great viewpoints there, some great thoughts on it as well. Looks like Ross is now watching our live stream. Thank you, Ross, for watching. I'm trying to keep up with everything. It's a lot. This thing's scrolling through. I don't normally have this much Twitter activity, but it's all is good. Luckily, I've got a few tools set up here so I can see my tweets or that hashtag coming in. So when somebody actually says something, I can just send it over here and we can talk about it. Eric has a good point. It means instead of building your organizations around business functions and paths of least resistance, your work is truly defined by the customer. Every role in the org should be able to tie their day-to-day work back to the customer. That's a fantastic point of view there, Eric. I'm just giving Eric some love here on Twitter. I'm hoping I'm catching most of these. There are a lot of them. Ross mentions that customers are finally becoming the true stakeholder that must be satisfied. Absolutely. I mean, ultimately, that's what affects your bottom line, right? If you're not satisfying your customers, then they're not buying from you. And if they're not buying from you, well, you're in trouble because they're buying from somebody. Just trying to continue talking to you guys while also typing. I don't know if I'm talented enough to do those things. We got VJ in the house. VJ, all right. Answer one there. Commerce made customers smart. Competition increased in 25 years. Absolutely. Customers are getting more and more experienced, and they want more and more from it, from you. So we've got question 3 here. How can small to mid-sized businesses compete with enterprises in e-commerce? Okay. This one's going to get fun here. How do you compete with the big boys? My answer is pretty simple. You don't compete with the big boys. Let me see if I can shorten this to where my hashtag fits. All right, so my first answer is you don't compete with them. That's like your kid's t-ball team playing against the Yankees. It's a different game, and you don't have the tools to compete with them. Play your game, be the best t-ball player you can possibly be. Maybe one day you'll work your way up and get called up to the big leagues. That's how that game is played. Now, with that, if you're playing your game, then you have advantages in your game. And so you want to make sure you take advantage of and leverage those advantages. Big players aren't usually focused. They need to continue to grow so that eventually they're going to start spreading out to multiple areas. They can't stay contained in a particular market. Use your focus to your advantage to build experiences that relate to your market. From there, you want to focus on building community and relationships. So do everything you can to build relationships with your audience, to increase loyalty, and create an army of loyal customers that will help you spread your brand. One big piece of this is to create content and become a leader in your market. So don't be on the news. Be the news, right? So you want to constantly be looking to play your game. It's not to use war analogies, but oftentimes in history, the home team has a significant advantage. You bring somebody. When the British come over here to the U.S., they were at a significant disadvantage. If we go to Vietnam, we're at a significant disadvantage. Make people play on your turf. Make them play your game. Define the parameters of what your game is and force them into that. Because if you go try to do enterprise e-commerce and you don't have the capital to do so, then you're playing their game with their rules and you don't stand a chance. So break outside of that, define your own game, and then play that to the best of your ability. Let's look and see what some other people have said on that here. All righty. Go to latest on AdobeChat here. All right, so some of the answers here. Fred's got some interesting points here. As a smaller company, you have the benefit of being more nimble. While Amazon may do over 50 tests a day to optimize their experience, smaller orgs can react to different customer needs to build that loyalty and better CX. You don't need to scale to win the CX game. Great point there, Fred. Let me see if I can find that over here. And give that some retweet love there. Ross mentions that small to mid-sized organizations can not only compete but disrupt the largest of companies. I absolutely agree with this. I don't want you to take my statement that you can't necessarily compete with them, but you have to define your game, right? Don't compete on their terms. Don't try to have same-day shipping if you're a small merchant. Come back down to earth, find your market, and dominate that market. You can absolutely wedge the big players out of your space and own a market if you build a community around that. 100%. So make sure that's clear, because how I phrased my answers could be misconstrued that way a little bit. Not saying you just don't play their game. You play your game, and then you win at the game that you've defined. All right. And then Ross mentions here as well, smaller organizations have always had it easier when it comes to being focused on the customer. That's absolutely right. That's the fact that people are more about experience and they want to build a relationship with you. And eventually logistics are going to get good enough to where it's good enough. I may not get it in one day from this small company, but I'll get it in 2 days. I'll get it in 3 days. And that'll be fine. If the experience is that much better, if I trust them, if they are the expert in their particular market. Alrighty. Mark's question here, answer for question 2. Customer centricity is not a nice to have, it's a must to have. If your organization is still focused on organizational centricity, I can't even say it, centricity, I think there's some serious change movement that needs to happen. Great point there, Mark. Alrighty, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss the next question. Cloud analytics. That's a mouthful right there. Cloud analytics. Technology is the great equalizer, and business agility is something larger brands struggle with. Absolutely. But you have to maintain some nimbleness as well, and don't get bogged down by trying to be too complicated. All right, question 4. What role do relationships have in experience-driven commerce? All righty, let's get my answers on the board. And again, They're just a little bit too long for the hashtag. Small oversight on my parts. All right, we're gonna get all these in here. I'm gonna trying to shorten it. I tend to be wordy sometimes in these, and so there's usually some things I can trim out. I'm bad about that. I write a novel, and I don't know, certain cadence to what I try to say when I'm thinking it through in my head, and then I've got to trim out like 15 words. All right, so let's get to my answers here for this, for question 4. Just to recap the question, what role do relationships have in experience-driven commerce? My answer is everything. Customer acquisition is getting increasingly expensive. You need to have long-term relationships with your customers to make business financially viable. Those relationships will build long-term repeat customers, and they'll help spread your message. The goal of great experience is to build trust and relationships. That's what you should focus, misspelled focus, on when you're crafting experiences. What can you provide to customers so that you become the source for their needs in your market and enable them as ambassadors? An experience is more than your website. Every touch point with your customer, including how their order's packaged and arrives, is part of the experience. It's also an opportunity for you to build or diminish your relationship with them. Every detail matters, so pay attention to them all. All right, so who else do we have here? Let's get in here and get some retweeting on here and some liking and posting and all of the crazy things that we need to do. Lots of short answers while I'm trying to keep up with the barrage of tweets in here. All right, so that's an interesting. Let's see if I can find that one to show to. I keep forgetting what controls what here, but I believe that one may have moved on. Next time, remind me next time to turn off retweets. I don't need to see, it's bogging down my system here with all the retweets. All righty, let's get back to. Ross mentions that relationships are the glue that holds end-to-end commerce together. Guys, it shouldn't be, like, I don't even, experience-driven commerce is a great word. I really think it should be relationship-driven e-commerce. I think they're the same thing. I think experience is what builds that relationship. I mean, think about people. How do you build relationships with people? You have experiences with them. The more experiences you go through, the closer your relationships are. So they're hand in hand. They're the same thing. It's hard to have a relationship with someone that you've experienced absolutely nothing with, or at least don't have some similar experiences you can bond over. So it's, experiences are very, very important when it comes to relationships are very important when it comes to experience-based commerce. All right, what else have we got here? Carrie O'Shea, relationships are everything in experience-driven commerce. Let people see your employees. People buy from other people. If you're just a corporate logo to people, you can't form a relationship with them. Your employees are your ambassadors. Empower them. That is a very great point. I've got to find that tweet in here and make sure I give that one a retweet. I thought that was a great point. You want to make sure that you humanize your business. Don't be just a faceless organization. You know, have somebody, have some of your employees out there in the front, so that people understand that you're a collection of people. That also helps if you make mistakes, if things go awry, that they understand your people. You're not some big organization. That's a lot easier to forgive folks that you have a relationship with than some just random entity that you may not know personally. You know, people crave connection with other people, not necessarily other, you know, faceless blobs of a corporation. All right, so reading over all of these, hopefully if you're still watching this, you're enjoying this live stream. It's a little different for us. Looks like we've got a few people watching on YouTube. If this happens to be your first time on one of our live streams, you know, first of all, if you like this kind of stuff, go ahead and hit the subscribe button while you're at it. You know, if you're watching on Twitter, follow me. You know, maybe I'll do some more of these. I don't know. This is a little different than what we're used to doing. We normally have a little more put together, a little more polished live stream on Fridays. Be sure to come back for one of those. Got a great one this weekend with Magento. Peter Sheldon's going to come on to talk about Adobe Commerce Cloud and kind of filling us in on what that looks like. So if you have any questions about Adobe Commerce Cloud, you better let me know. Nobody has sent me a single question yet. I'm not sure. Apparently y'all don't like this topic. Maybe I should just cancel the live stream and take Friday off. I don't know. Let's see here. What have we got? Mark mentions here on the chat here, it's long been said that business is about relationships, and I fully believe this. If you want to create incredible experiences, you have to do more than sell to them. You have to build a relationship with them that makes them love and want to be a part of your brand. That is absolutely 100% true and on point there, Mark. Give Mark a little love here on Twitter. Again, if you happen to be here watching this, you need to join the conversation. It's hashtag AdobeChat on Twitter, all one word, Adobe, ADOBECHAT on Twitter. That is where the conversation is going on. If you want to have your voice heard, do not let my opinion be the only one that's heard. Get over there, post your opinions. This is a group conversation. This is not about me. All right, question number 5. What technologies are shaping e-commerce and why? All right, got some stuff ready for this one. Let's see here. Oh, I left my Adobe Chat here. Okay. Always good when I accidentally left one short enough to get Adobe Chat in the title or in the tweets. That definitely makes things go by smoother. And I'm going to post my answers, and then I will come back to kind of share them with you. And I have to shorten one here, so that's not too bad. I got one little letter to get out of it here. Okay, got it. All right, so recap the question. What are the technologies that are currently shaping e-commerce? For me right now, the biggest change that we're facing is the shift to headless e-commerce. Progressive web apps, or PWAs, are starting to roll out, and that's just going to pick up steam. And it's going to happen a lot quicker than a lot of people understand and realize. PWAs are interesting to me because they affect all of the important aspects of e-commerce. You know, more pleasant, fast user experience, more traffic from an SEO bump from Google, and then it's a lower total cost of ownership versus a mobile app and a website. Now, a lot of people don't have mobile apps, and it's going to be a little more expensive for now. But hopefully at some point in the future, the costs will be in line with what an actual average e-commerce site looks like now. Honestly, though, you know, if most people, there's some interesting conversations on Twitter in the last few days about user experience and a site in particular that really had a very different mobile user experience. And so, most people, to save a few dollars or for lack of creativity, just kind of piggyback off what the norm is. Here's the default theme. Let's make it look kind of like that because we don't have a big budget to think this out, and we know this is at least standard. Nobody's going to get fired for putting out something that kind of looks like this. But as more people start to really focus on their user experience and crafting that to their users, I think PWAs are going to be even better because it does, you can have that base, but you're going to go a little further away from the norm of a standard theme for your user experience anyway. So, all right, so let's see. My third answer on this, if you don't know what PWAs are and you're in e-commerce, start doing some research because it's coming fast, and you need to be on that train or you're going to get left behind. Alrighty. Just giving some folks some love here. Yeah, we've got a comment on one of my posts here. What about value, Ossie? I assume I pronounced that correctly, OSSY. What about value-driven commerce, where value is created for customers and delivered to them? Relationship is necessary but not sufficient. The byproduct would be great experience, which eventually becomes normal. We're on the same page. There's a lot of different ways you can phrase that, and value driven is definitely something to consider. That there's subtlety oftentimes shapes your mindset on those things. So when I'm saying customer centric, or I'm saying building a relationship, well, you have to figure out what your customer wants, what's the value they're looking for, and then you have to be focused on providing that value to them. I think that's going a step further, right? I think that's even more specific than just customer centric, is value centric. So I think that's a great way of phrasing it. So if you happen to be watching instead of just tweeting, hopefully that made sense. But I'm going to give you a little love here on Twitter anyway. Just trying to get some replies out. It's a little odd to be sitting here replying. Normally I have guests on here and I can reply on things while they're talking, but instead y'all just got to sit here and listen to me in silence. So I don't know if this makes for good TV or not, but it is what it is. We're doing all we can with what we've got going on here. This is a bit hectic, man. There are answers flying all over the place. Looks like we've got Brent Peterson here tweeting. Let me see if I can find Brent's post over here to show to you guys. All right, Brent says the relationship builds trust between company and customers, and trust is the best wealth for business. Great point there, Brent. Also mentions that your relationship with the customer is what drives the customer to be your advocate. Absolutely. And they'll be your ambassador for your brand and stand up for you. Thank you, Ossie, you must be watching. I complain about not getting any questions and you send me one. I appreciate that. And if I'm saying your name wrong, correct me, please. OSSY is not a word in my vocabulary, so I'm trying to do the best I can. We've got question number 6. While I'm preparing my answers, I'm going to throw it up for you. What challenges do organizations face with modern commerce? Get my answers going here, and of course they're all too long, so I've got to shorten them. Gotta shorten them. Next time I'll know if they ask me back. I don't know. I just made it more complicated on myself by deciding to live stream at the same time. I don't know if that was a good idea. See if I can shorten that. I'm probably going to shorten a word on some of these that make them absolutely make no sense whatsoever. But it is what it is. I've got 4 answers on this one, boy. I went crazy on this one. Went crazy on this one. All right, let's talk about my answers here. As increased consumer demands are difficult, that's not an as, it's A6. Increased consumer demands are difficult. Juggernauts like Amazon have seemingly unlimited budgets to push boundaries of what's possible in e-commerce. The challenge is building enough of a relationship with your customers that your disadvantages don't matter. Like literally, you have to overcome the logistical disadvantages that you have. From more data to complex user experiences, things are getting tough to do them in a simplified manner. You know, great experiences seem simple even in significant complexity. Organizations really need to put more effort into understanding customers and planning out their user experience instead of piggybacking off of industry norms. Industry norms are designed to appeal to the widest array of merchants as possible, industries as possible. So it's not good enough for your particular industry if you want to stand out. If you do the norm, you're doing exactly what everybody else is doing, and you're going to get the results that everybody else is getting. So we are, one of the biggest problems you're about to see is we're about to see an explosion of channels for sales. Instagram checkout's just the beginning. This means you'll need more advanced strategies to maximize each one of these channels and a way to consolidate and automate all of that data. So things are about to get a lot more complicated for you as a merchant. Education and understanding is one of the biggest things that merchants lack these days. There is a lot to keep up with. It is moving very, very quickly, and a lot of merchants have a hard time seeing the forest for the trees. It's tough to see the big picture and slow down and learn when you are constantly in the weeds trying to grow your business. Makes it very, very difficult, very tough. Yeah, I'm getting some feedback here. I read A6 as a minute ago, so I'm getting a little bit of hard time on that one. That's there's very small text over here. These monitors are pretty far away from me, and I'm getting old. My eyesight is not quite what it used to be. But it is what it is. We just roll with it. That's the number one rule of live streaming. Just keep smiling and talking. Just keep smiling and talking. Just don't quit smiling. Don't quit talking, and you'll be fine. I'm just waiting for the day that somebody has a live stream where they literally just sit there and smile the whole time. Don't say a word. It'll probably be fairly popular. I think it will work out. All right. See what else we've got going on here. All right, let's see. I appreciate everybody watching this that is paying attention, that happens to still be here. We've got quite a few people on YouTube watching. If you happen to be watching on YouTube, if you hadn't seen yet, you see these new cars I've got here. If you guys are Magento fans, it's got a little Magento logo. It's got the Jamerson logo on it. I would move it up there so you can see it real close, but it won't focus, and then we'll be all out of focus, and it'll be a problem. But if you're going to be at Imagine, hit me up. I'll have some cars at the Jamerson booth. We're going to be all the way in the back, right next to the Magento booth. I'm testing a theory. Can I draw people back there? Can I beg enough? Can I have cool enough swag to get people all the way to the back of the exhibition hall to get a car with a Magento logo on it? And then will you keep it? Are they all going to end up in the garbage can? Are you going to leave them in your hotel room? Are the maids going to have Magento cars? It seems tragic, but whatever you guys are into is fine. I understand. I leave a lot of cool swag in hotel rooms. Um, okay, so what have we got here? Eric Hansen. Eric, let's find your post over here and show it to people. Rising customer expectations and the self-discipline to avoid overly complex solutions to your challenges. Mastering the basic fundamentals at scale must come first. If you don't, any efforts at sophistication will fail. So it's kind of what I was saying a minute ago, Eric. I think that may be a little more eloquent way of putting it. But things are getting more and more complicated, and the ability to provide something that appears simple and sophisticated is difficult. You know, you're going to lump together 8,000 different systems, and you're hacking a bunch of stuff together, and that's complicated. So a lot of merchants, you know, instead of baby stepping into it and rolling up sophistication as they go go too far, or they don't understand, or they don't have the budget to make all of these systems work together in some sort of elegant way. So that's a great point by you. Let's see, we've got retweets. Ross mentions that we are collaborating on an article that is going out today after this chat, Thriving in the Moment of E-Commerce on AdobeChat. Now, you guys need to go read this article. I need people to go over and read the article so that he will write more articles and include me in it. Like if he puts out an article and it is his lowest trafficked article in the history of mankind, then it may be the end of me, man. It may be my demise. So when we put this out, go over there and read the thing. I promise it's going to be good. I promise. I wouldn't lie to you. Well, I mean, I haven't seen it yet, really, so I can't promise you that. But it's going to be good. Ross does a good job. I'm going to do a good job. It's going to be useful content. All right. Keeping it going here. Ross, organizations have serious challenges today in e-commerce. The largest one is education and agility. Absolutely, Ross. Education is huge. Merchants are, especially SMB merchants, tend to lack an understanding, and the understanding they have is oftentimes years out of date. And so, you know, they have little tidbits of knowledge, but understanding the bigger picture, how everything ties together, really knowing what their options are, is something they oftentimes look for agencies to help them with. But you know, our most sophisticated clients are usually our best clients. So when they understand what they want, they understand, you know, they may not have to know the intricate details of how to accomplish on it, but when you can have educated conversations and they understand when you tell them that their data is not right or whatever their complexities are, you know, if they understand the significance of that challenge and how that ties into their success, then the whole project's going to be much, much better. So I think that's one of the things, the biggest hurdles we have to overcome in e-commerce over the coming years is to try to build more educated merchants. And I'm not talking about technical education, but you know, business-wise, e-commerce-wise, strategy-wise, we definitely have to do a better job of educating our merchants. But technical education goes into that as well. You know, you have to know how to use the tools that you have selected. All right, so I keep clicking off my Adobe Chat here. I'm going to go back to that. Question number 7. Question 7, how can organizations overcome the challenges of commerce today? All right, let's post our answers. Hopefully you all are participating here as well. Somebody giving me a hard time about push notifications. You know, push notifications on progressive web apps are not going to be as big as people would like for them to be. You know, they're going to be a novelty for a little while, and if you're an early adopter and abusing them, you might be able to take some advantages of push notifications, but I just don't see long-term push notifications. They're great, and you know, if you build that strong of a relationship, you might be able to leverage them, but marketers tend to break everything. They tend to ruin everything. So you know, eventually it's going to be good. Eventually marketers are going to get in there and screw it all up. That's just the nature of the game. People are going to be like, okay, I can make a bunch of money by hammering people with push notifications, so I'm going to hammer people with push notifications. And if you don't, somebody else will, and then everybody turns them off or disables them. All right, so let's get back to question number 7. How can organizations overcome the challenges of commerce today? And my answer, there are too many options at this point to do them all. Understand your market and be resourceful to accomplish the tasks that provide the most value to them. Don't try to do everything, and don't spend effort on things that don't matter to your customers. Don't go broke trying to compete with the logistics of industry giants. You cannot compete with them on that playing field, as I've said several times in this live stream. So stop trying. Be good enough in those areas that are important to your customers, and spend that effort and resources focusing on relationships and improving every single touch point with your audience. Be selective in what channels you sell via as more become available. Know who your audience is and leave some budget time to experiment with them as they come online. Be an early adopter on the few that work while the attention is undervalued and underpriced. That's how I see it. Let's see, we've got Ian here. Let's see. Ian mentions that very interesting situation developing. For a long time, we've discussed the emergence and evolution of omni-channel marketing. As we create more ways to make more holistic experiences, we'll see a more seamless connection for the omni-channel sales. Well, the great thing about this, what I view as what the pending omni-channel explosion is that you had companies like MailChimp building in commerce functionality into their email lists. You have Instagram releasing their checkout right in the app. And so once these companies realize that it's easy to generate the majority of their revenue through e-commerce, then more and more platforms are going to start enabling that commerce. Snapchat is going to enable commerce. Facebook is obviously going to enable commerce, direct checkout and those kinds of things. So it's going to continue to grow. And I think you could do that somewhat in Facebook now. But they're going to continue to invest in making those experiences more and more seamless for their users and their platform, which is good for you. Touches on a lot of great things. You increase those conversion rates, which should lead to more sales through those channels. You don't want to add friction in the process by forwarding them out of that platform and to your e-commerce site. But what happens when there are 10 channels that a small merchant needs to try to sell through? That's a lot to manage for a small merchant. And so, especially if you need to sync that data or manage inventory or anything like that can get pretty complicated. And that's a complicated topic for a lot of SMB merchants. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see the tools and the techniques that come out of this to help manage all of that. At a certain scale, the e-commerce platform, if it connects to all those and feeds them out, will be the answer for most people. But once you start growing a little bit, then you've got to get a lot more technically savvy because having your e-commerce platform as the spoke in a hub and spoke model with your data, not necessarily the most scalable method of doing things for most merchants. So we'll see how it all plays out, but it's an interesting problem that a lot of people are going to have to deal with. All right, so we're continuing to just kind of give some likes and some retweets here on some things, kind of going through and seeing what everyone else has to say about the topic. Vincenzo Landino here in the on the Twitter chat. Vincenzo, thanks for participating in this chat. I appreciate all of the help. His comment is building trust, personalization, and borderless economies in which companies now have to deal with government regulations, geopolitical status, and extensive local and international competition. That's the answer to question number 6, which, just to recap, was what challenges do organizations face with modern e-commerce. That's a great point, Vincenzo, that just the international nature of e-commerce. You're a U.S. merchant, you got to deal with GDPR if you're selling overseas. International logistics, different, tax problems that you may have to deal with. We deal with that in a payroll space now. We've got employees spread out all across the world at this point. So merchants are having to deal with that more and more as well. That's going to be a growing problem. That's a very great point. One I wish I would have put in one of my answers, which is great. It's why you get a bunch of different point of views. You get a bunch of different people talking about the topic. You get a lot of interesting stuff, which is one of the reasons I'm trying to do these little short 4.5 minute videos that I've been putting out lately. Let's just start a conversation about some of this stuff. I'll throw out 3 or 4 minutes of my thoughts on it, and then see if I can get everyone else's thoughts. Which leads to a much more interesting conversation. Even with the live streams, you guys always ask much more interesting questions to me than I come up with on my own, because the interesting questions to me are the ones that I haven't thought of. And that's why I love these live streams. All right, so just going through here and seeing, the steam is slowing down a little bit on this AdobeChat, people. Get over there and post and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think of my backdrop here. I'm going to drop over to YouTube real quick and see if anybody has had anything in the chat. Like I said, this is a little bit of a different live stream. Not sure why it's got the old background as the thumbnail, but all right, we do have some folks here in the live stream. I apologize, guys, if you've been joining the live stream over on YouTube. I've been really putting a lot of time into the Twitter stream here. We're streaming on Twitter as well, and that's where the conversation is going on. So I haven't had a lot of time to keep up with the YouTube chats. But thank you guys for participating. All right, so we've got another question here, question number 8. What will the future of commerce look like? Now, I'm not one for predicting the future. It's not really what I like to do. I like to see what's coming right now. Like what is the now of things. I try not to, because I've just got this thing where I try not to worry about what's coming. Right? If something is out of my control, I don't worry about it. And I've got a lot of things to deal with, a lot of stuff to worry about right now. And so there's no sense in thinking too far ahead and trying to answer questions that may not ever come up, right? So you look into the near-term future and try to figure out what the next year or 2 years looks like, and you adjust to that. Because if you're adjusting for 10 years out, you're in trouble anyway, because that's never going to happen like you thought it would. So my answers to what will the future of e-commerce look like kind of go back to some of my previous answers. And we're about to see the concept of omni-channel come to the masses. Typically omni-channel, an SMB merchant's omni-channel. If you say, are you omni-channel? Yeah, I'm omni-channel. I'm selling on Amazon. I've got a website. But that's about to get a lot more complicated. E-commerce is about to fracture into multiple smaller channels. You'll be selling on the platforms that have consumer attention, like Instagram, Facebook, MailChimp, those kinds of things. Any platform that has attention will be transactional. And with the increase in social channels becoming e-commerce capable, you'll now be taking e-commerce closer to your customer and engaging with them fully on that platform, which is great. I think that's a step in the right direction from a user experience perspective. Why would I want to leave the app I'm comfortable with when I could just check out right here and they've got all my info? I don't need to add a whole bunch of crap. I checked out over here yesterday. All my info's in this app. I just click a button and now I've ordered that widget that you sell on your website. So this is good from a customer perspective. But it's a little more difficult from a merchant perspective. It's going to add some complexity. And so I haven't been sending these over here, but I'll send them over. And so, that complexity will be tough for less sophisticated merchants. And if you don't have your data and your processes in order, and you're not trying to automate the flow of data, and you're still doing things a little manually, or you've got some manual steps, it's going to complicate your life a little bit. They're going to have to start educating themselves. They're going to have to start growing up. Even SMB merchants are going to have to start getting more sophisticated around their strategy. There's just going to be a lot of shiny things to distract you, and you're going to have to really cut through the noise and make sure you know where to focus your limited time, resources, budget for that kind of thing. Ross mentions that the future of commerce is going to be agile, relational, personalized, and frictionless. Absolutely, Ross. That's a great point. I'm looking at it from the complexities of the merchant side, but from the consumer side, that's what it's going to be. It's all about how simply can I order something, or how simply can I get the information I need to determine if I want this product. That's what it's all about. All right, just going through the answers here, making sure I give everybody some love here, make sure I'm commenting and talking about all of these. All right. Again, if you happen, I just unfollowed Ross. Sorry, Ross. I unfollowed you. I followed you back. I was trying to retweet, and I don't know how I hit unfollow, but there we go. We followed you back. You lost a follower, then gained one. All right. So if you happen to be watching this and you just kind of came on and you're wondering what the heck's going on, this is not the normal live stream. I just went live. We're hosting AdobeChat, hashtag AdobeChat, AdobeChat, over on Twitter. We are live on Periscope, Twitter, and we're live on YouTube as well. And I'm just, I'm trying to interact with everybody on Twitter, make sure I share my answers to these questions, and then communicate with you all on the live stream at the same time. So if I just start staring randomly into a screen and don't say anything, forgive me. But if you happen to be new around here, just go ahead and hit the subscribe button while you're at it. If you like this kind of content, if you want to be talking about, if you want a non-technical conversation about technical e-commerce, then you found the right place. We're putting out a lot of content about random topics at this point. We're trying to broaden it out, not be just about the Magento platform, although I do love the Magento platform. We want to, really kind of reach out and be a resource to see if we can't start helping that education problem that merchants have. Can we put out bite-sized content that they can consume and help them be a little more sophisticated in the subject matter and understanding what's going on? So if that's what you're interested in, if you're interested in e-commerce, regardless of what level you're at, then consider hitting that subscribe, or check out a few of the videos we've got on the channel, or we release in the upcoming days, and see if it's something that interests you. If it's not, no hard feelings, man. I get it. It's fine. All right. So I think that is the last question, but we're going to hang out for a little while, and we're going to see how the answers go. Let's see, what did Brent Peterson have to say here? Instead of thinking about what you want to sell the customer, think about what the client wants to buy. You can then shape the buying experience for them. I think that goes back to one of the comments, I believe it was Aussie said a little earlier on this chat. You want to be value-centric. What value are you providing to them, and then reverse engineer from there. So Brent's on the same page with us when it comes to that. It's definitely hard to kind of go into the details in a tweet, limited characters. Biswell mentions, with the increase in social channels becoming e-commerce capable, you'll now be taking e-commerce closer to your, and then customers got cut off. He's retweeting my tweet there. I'm reading my own tweet. That's why it's cut off. Like I said, I've got to be able to filter the retweets. Not even half, 75% of the tweets on my my little screen here. So what I've got for you, I'll give you a little inside look here. I don't know if you can see it, but I've got a screen here, and that screen shows, it pulls all of the tweets with hashtag AdobeChat, and that's not the mouse to move it. So then I come over here and I pick one, and I can highlight it, and I can add it to a queue, so that I only see the ones I want to show you guys. Or in this case, I'm just reading through them, and then I just hit send, and then it shows up down there. That's a retweet of mine, but it should show whoever originally posted it if it's not a retweet. So I'm trying to find one that's not a retweet. Well, that's me again. See, everything's a retweet at this point. I think Brent's is not. We did talk about Brent's, but I'll send it again. That's a different one, but takes his and then posts it over there so that you guys can see it. That's what I've got on this screen. I've got another screen over here that's got my answers and stuff, and I can switch between tabs and have different things. Then I can't even show you. I can't even come to show you that. I don't have a mirror, and I can't take the camera off, or it'll all go to hell at that point. All right, so let's get back over here. Now I've got my screen all mixed up. See, we try to turn it to where I can get it as close to me as possible, but you guys can't see it. So, but I tell you what, it gets hot in this office too during a live stream. All these lights make it very, very warm. I start sweating. It's not too bad because I've only got one light on. I actually opened the window today, but man, it gets warm in this room. I'm gonna have to do some work on that. I've got an AC vent, but it's not overcoming these lights. All right, so it looks like a whole bunch of retweets. It looks like the conversation is slowing down a little bit. So if you want to get your answers in, if you want your opinion to be heard, then get over there and start posting in that hashtag AdobeChat. I appreciate everybody that has been watching this live stream. We did no promotion for this. We just went live. So it's great that people actually see that. I know that people see, they want to come participate in these live streams. We're going to have a really good one this Friday. So if you have time Friday, please show up. I need a lot of people here. I want it to be a big live stream. Anytime someone from Adobe volunteers their time to come on and answer questions, I want to make sure that we have those questions. I want to make sure that we're utilizing that well, and we're providing value back to you guys. So if you know somewhere that Magento folks exist, please share that live stream out. Let's see if we can get as many people there as possible to get questions answered, because if nobody shows up, if we don't have good questions, if we're not providing any value, then they're not going to continue to come back on the stream for that. So I'll definitely appreciate anybody who watches any of these, but Friday is going to be a big one for us. So please, try to make some plans. Go over to, if you go to youtube.com/ecommerceaholic, you should see the live stream from Friday. You can set a reminder so it'll notify you. But if you're subscribed, if you're seeing this stream, you probably get notified anyway when we go live. So all's well. Again, the conversation is dying down just a little bit. I'm going to check back over here on Twitter here. Just giving some folks some love here on Twitter. Still a little bit of conversation going on. Anything any of you folks on YouTube want to talk about here? Let me know. Let me know. I'm checking the YouTube chat just a little bit now that I can actually breathe just a little bit. I'm trying to find. Looks like we've got more people watching over on YouTube than Twitter at this point, but it is what it is. We've never really tried to grow an audience over on Twitter. Anybody with some good Twitter strategy advice, let me know. I post more on Twitter than any social channel. but we just don't get a ton of traction. I'm having conversations, not trying to grow an audience over there. So we just haven't been real effective at it. I think I've got to do a better job of posting hashtags and things, and just posting content native, not just sharing YouTube content and stuff like that. All right, Ross, if you're still watching the live stream, DM me. Let me know if there's something else I need to be doing. Are we done? Do we just keep the conversation going? Is there a timeline? I'm a little lost as to what the next steps may be. So I don't want to cut this off too long. If there's going to be something interesting, I might be able to share with folks. If you're in the chat too, if you're in the the YouTube chat, let me know what you think about this backdrop. I changed it out. I'm gonna swap it for you. We moved in here at the beginning of the year, so any live stream we've had this year has been in this room with the green screen. I took pictures of my backdrop from the room last year, which is just outside here, but I take up half the office, so I've tried to move it to a smaller room, which is why it gets very, very warm in here, but that's usually the backdrop we rock, but we can swap it out to just about anything we want to at this point. I just felt like I would go with something a little different just to have this is what I use in webinars, or if I'm on the call with somebody, on the phone with somebody, they think my office is in a forest. All right, so it looks like that's the conversation. So I appreciate everybody watching. Again, I look forward to seeing you all on Friday on the regular live stream. And so, take it easy. I'll see you guys in a couple of days.